great place to start would be your name, your position, and how long you've been here.
Yeah, so my name is Andrés. I am the veterinary supervisor at this facility, and I've been working here for about 11 years.
11 years, okay. And what made you want to get into veterinary medicine? And was the goal always like wildlife rehabilitation conservation, or did you just find yourself here?
Yeah, well, so the goal was never veterinary medicine, really. I'm a paleontologist. That's my first career.
Oh, cool.
And so I essentially, when I first was beginning to decide of whether I wanted to study or what I wanted to study and all that stuff, I stumbled upon this place essentially as a sort of volunteer opportunity. It's really close to where I grew up, so I decided to start coming over here as a volunteer, and then slowly but surely fell in love with it over time. And then as time progressed, the vet over here started dragging me into the clinic, and then she just kind of, put a gun to my head and told me, you're gonna be a vet. And I decided, well, it's a good opportunity as any.
That's incredible. So you started as an intern, and did you then go to school and then sort of come back here?
Actually, I never stopped volunteering. So even while I was in school, even if I had to do, 72 to even more hour days, I would just go to school, come right back here, and apply everything that I was learning to all the animals that I already loved.
Amazing. That's so cool. Is there, such a corny question, but I have to ask, is there an animal in particular that stands out amongst the rest as your favorite, especially to work with?
Of course.
Yeah.
Two-toed sloths, obviously. Okay. Two-toed sloths are my favorite animal, period. They're my area of specialty. They're what I've dedicated my entire life to, and I love them with all of my heart and even a little bit more than that.
That's incredible. And so you guys do a few different things here. Obviously, we have the animals that stay here because they cannot be released. We have our quarantine, we have this, and there's also the research that you do.
Yes.
And you cover all of that.
Yes.
Amazing. Wow, that's a lot of different things, because my next question was going to be, if you could, to walk me through like an average day at the Toucan Rescue Ranch, but given the variability, that might be kind of hard.
Yeah, so it does shift and vary quite a bit.
Yeah.
It really depends on what we need to do, what's planned and what's not planned. We're a very seasonal sort of a machine, I would say. So for example, all of the animals that are over here, we have to do their yearly checkups. We have to make sure that they are in tip-top shape. So we schedule those throughout the year to make sure that we are providing them with the best quality of care, but also that we encompass them through also with some of our students or some of our interns or some of our volunteers that are coming from all over the world to learn about these animals, so that they can also get the opportunity to not only help us give our animals the best quality of care, but also to learn from them as well.
Of course.
But a general day is coming over here, seeing what's up and feeding the animals, taking care of them, cleaning after them. And then, that kind of just meanders into either a rescue or helping out in some way, maybe attending meetings, going up here, going down there.
Yeah.
It just changes a lot.
Yeah, of course. And you had said earlier that you sometimes get like a rescue a day or an animal a day.
Yes.
So obviously that changes by week. Is there one animal that you're rescuing more often? Like,
yes.
Is there the most common animals to be rescued would be what?
Yeah, so overall, because we have an acceptance rate of about 700 animals per year, we're close to almost 2 animals per day.
That's wild.
Which is crazy. It is absolutely crazy, cuckoo bananas. Because we have to stay with them for a relatively lengthy period of time, depending on the animal. Yeah. But what our special program or special baby is two-toed sloths. We work with Hoffman two-toed sloths. And they're the animal that we receive the most per year. But if you're talking about other ones, we do receive a lot of parrots. We do receive a lot of owls, especially baby owls during owl breeding season. Yeah. And a bunch of American marsupials. So we receive a lot of opossums as well.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. I don't think we saw any opossums today. Right?
Thankfully, they're all out in the wild right now.
Amazing. So they've all been released, which is great. What do you find is the most common reason that the two-toed sloths are coming in?
So that is the question to beat all questions, I guess. We receive two causes are probably the biggest ones that we see, which is electrocution, which is pretty common. And you probably already seen it if you've been traveling around Costa Rica. It is 100% one of the most common causes that you'll see for almost any wildlife, especially mammals, but almost any wildlife. And for two-toed sloths, that's not the exception. We see a lot of electrocution in adult sloths. Right. But with babies, we see a lot of abandonment. And we're not entirely sure why they're being abandoned. But we have one of the biggest and one of the most successful programs to rescue, rehabilitate, and then release baby sloths back into the wild. And it takes us about 15 months and a couple $1,000s to release each and every single baby sloth but it is a really big program that we do, and we're really, really proud of it.
Yeah, no kidding. You should be. That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And I guess for those who don't know, you say that one of the most common is electrocution.
Yes.
So you're going to explain why, like just for people who don't know,
Yeah.
like because the sloths are essentially reaching, thinking that it's a branch, and they are getting zapped, essentially,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's very complex. It has a lot of dimension, but Costa Rica is a pretty weird country when it comes to sloths, and there's a lot that we don't understand about them. One of the main issues is that it's a very small country, and it's been steadily growing over the past decades, and that means that there's a lot of urbanization going on, and so that means that sloths have less ability to be able to access their food as they would in the past, and so they have to move longer distances to be able to get their food, and in doing so often they have to cross roads to be able to get it. And sloths hate going to the ground, absolutely detest going to the ground. So if they can find any sort of way to be able to do it, even if it's a metal branch up in the sky, they're for sure going to try to do it. And so in doing so, often they'll get electrocuted, and it can be very, very problematic.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's devastating. With that many animals coming in a year, is capacity an issue? That's so many animals. Where are they all going?
Yeah, capacity is always an issue.
Yeah.
We receive animals from all throughout the country, and so we're always battling with bills and what receiving each of the animals means to us, both in the way of being able to give them care, but also economically, if we're going to be able to provide for them the care that they need in the best possible way that we always want to strive for each and every individual animal. And so that is one of our biggest issues in that respect. There have been periods of the year where we have struggled to not say no.
Yeah.
But thankfully, as of now, we've always found a little spot for each and every animal that has come to us so that we can try at least to give them a second chance out there in the wild.
That's incredible. I love that so much. Obviously, it seems like you guys have a really great setup here. There's a lot of resources.
Oh, thank you.
Have resources ever been a challenge? Have you ever had to get kind of creative with how to treat an animal?
Oh yeah. So this is the trenches. This is World War I. We have to, you have to go back to the basis of medicine and start from over there. But thankfully, we have fought and clawed and went through every hole that we could to get all the stuff that we have. You see all this pretty equipment, but this has been, a fight for every single one of them. Be it grants, or applying, or coming over here asking for money, or kind donations of amazing people that we've met over the years, slowly but surely donating the stuff. And that's the way that we can operate the way that we do. Yeah. Because otherwise we just wouldn't be here.
Of course. And we mentioned earlier that you don't have a lot of government support. Do you have a lot of outreach and support within the community, or does the community get involved? Obviously there's volunteer opportunities like you were saying.
So we try to involve our community as much as we can. One of the programs that we're very, very proud of, for example, is that all of the education that we would normally charge for, we offer to locals completely for free. And so that's something that's really, really important, because obviously I'm a local, even if I don't sound like it. I'm a local, and so I got this opportunity to be able to help and to be able to educate myself. And so we want to be able to provide the community with those opportunities as well. But sadly, Costa Rica is not a country in which donations are such a big thing, right? So we don't have, a lot of us, we don't have the ability economically or otherwise to be able to make those big donations. And so the community helps us in other ways. But we also want to give back, right? Education is an extremely, extremely, extremely important thing. While Costa Rica is a very kind of forward country in the way that we think about environment and all that stuff, a lot of our population has sadly been left behind when it comes to educating them into what all of this green image means. And so it's really, really important to be able to touch those doors, go to schools and teach them what we do, how to do it, how to interact, and how to live with wildlife in the best way possible, because around Costa Rica, that's what we have. We have wildlife all around us.
Yeah, that's amazing to be able to make it more accessible, because I feel like obviously understanding something is the first step to caring about it. So it's a great start. Switching gears a little bit and going back into more of the veterinary side, a lot of veterinarians will specialize in certain large animal, small animal. You cover everything. Could you tell me your smallest patient and your largest patient to date?
Yes, of course. So my smallest patient to date has been, we've successfully raised hummingbirds before, and we've successfully raised hummingbirds that have literally come as eggs. And so we've
Wow.
incubated the eggs, and then we've raised the baby hummingbirds, and then we've released them, which means that those patients, when they were born, were less than a gram as soon as they arrived.
Yeah.
Those and some of the smaller bat species, baby bats, that we've raised and released before are probably some of the smallest patients that we've
Wow.
ever received. But when it comes to the biggest patients, we've over here at this facility been involved in rescues of pumas, which can be, you know,
Wow.
a couple closer to like 80 to maybe 90 pounds. And then recently we did a rescue for a tapir who was around 400 pounds, pregnant tapir, mind you. And she was around 450 pounds, lean, obviously, very lean. But we've even worked with American crocodiles. And while the biggest American crocodiles are a little bit over 12 feet and a couple hundred pounds, the one that we treated over here was on the tinier side, but certainly will get to be that size in the wild.
That's unbelievable. I would love if you could say also what that tapir rescue looked like, because when you described it earlier, I feel like people would love to know what
Yeah.
your job actually entails, because it's not just this side of things, it's seeing the whole process through.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was an incredible case. Obviously, extremely sad for her, because what ended up happening was something that was caused due directly to human interference, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was a neighbor. This area over here of Costa Rica is very, very rainy. We receive more than 2,000 millimeters of rainfall per year, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And so people often, you know, dig pits and kind of line them with concrete to have their own kind of little wells that they, you know, get just from the rainwater.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening was that that property had a well and had covered it with essentially like tin roof instead of properly closing it. And so obviously that's super nice for like a human because you wouldn't fall through, but for, you know, a little bit of a 400-pound animal, she just kind of stepped on it and then the roof kind of fell off.
Yeah.
We got the call and we got over there, and I think everything sort of happened quickly, but everything was super slow until it started happening quickly.
Yeah.
And so we had to plan, we had to make sure what to do, how to do it, to see if she had any cuts, to see if she even would survive getting her out, right?
Mm-hmm.
An animal that big is not used to being lifted
Yeah.
out, right? And so we have to improvise a system of pulleys to be able to get her out. And then as soon as we kind of figured out what to do, me and my other colleague, Janet, who's also one of the vets over here, we jumped into the well. We anesthetized the animal and we kind of stood with her, put all the stuff around her, and then we had to hoist her up, which was super interesting. I might be interested into getting into CrossFit now, just from that whole affair, just because we really had to power lift that tapir out. And then once we got her out, we got her cleared into a nice clearing. We checked her out and we realized that there wasn't a single heartbeat, there was 2 heartbeats.
Oh.
And so it was obviously an
Just got
extremely
goosebumps.
magical moment. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And then from then on, we put her on a pickup truck, drove her up into the mountain, woke her up, and then let the happy little family go out into the wild.
That's incredible. I was wondering if you were able to see the health of the baby as well. So that's
Yes.
such an incredible success story that, yeah, so cool to be able to be a part of those things.
Yeah, it's
my
incredible.
goodness.
It's one of my favorite things in the world.
Yeah, I could definitely see why. But with when you mentioned the puma and like the crocodiles, with those kinds of rescues, you're ideally like treating those animals there, right? Because
Yes.
obviously like you're not bringing those animals back here.
Correct.
So what would that look like if the animal did need like surgery or extra work? What would that process look like?
So we would actually need to evaluate it,
Yeah.
right? So we as a facility, we're not super well equipped for anything that's too large. We're a facility that specializes in kind of mid-sized animals.
Yeah.
And so if it was an animal that was way too large, we would have to figure out what we're going to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And even what's really going on with it as well, right? It's really hard because on a wild animal that requires surgery, it can be very complicated, right? There's stitches involved and they can pull those stitches and then it can be a whole thing.
Yeah.
So we really need to plan it out to be able to see how we're going to manage the case and if we're going to share it with another rescue center or whether we're going to be able to do it on ourselves the whole way through.
Yeah. It's this whole job, I guess, is completely circumstantial and every case is completely different.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes sense. Something else I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned earlier, I thought was super interesting, was about zoonotic disease. So you're saying obviously the prevalence of that after COVID, there's a lot of attention on it. How do you educate your staff about zoonotic disease, and is that something that you're educating the public on as well, or not yet?
Yes, totally. So both. So we are very, very strict when it comes to all of that. So when we're receiving people, for example, we always ask them, hey, please get rabies vaccination, please get tetanus vaccine, please get all of this stuff that we know is out there and that could affect them. It's really, really, really important for us because we've seen a rise in zoonotic diseases, and I don't even think it's such a rise after COVID, but more that we're just kind of beginning to look.
We're
aware,
know what I
mean? We're aware that that's the thing. One of those programs, for example, that we started to get involved with is in detection of screwworm. So screwworm is a type of maggot that flies of a very specific species lay on live animals, and while normal maggots, they'll just eat dead flesh, that maggot eats live flesh, and so that can be a huge issue. And we had eliminated that maggot, but because of circumstances like illegal trafficking of cattle, for example, it started to rise up in Central America and a little bit in North America as well, in Mexico. And so we've been really, really, really hard at work at tracking screwworms. So we've been detecting screwworm in all sorts of animals that we've received, and we also started a sort of task force with the government to be able to detect those cases, diagnose those cases, tell them where they came from, so that we can start forming those sort of alliances. So currently we're working with two diseases closely together with the government. One of them is a screwworm and the other one's rabies, to be able to kind of form those task forces, because we're the ones that are like in the line of duty, first in line, first responders in that way, to catalog and see these diseases, but also to be able to provide the government with the information that we have diagnosed this disease, so that we can start an epidemiological framework for those.
Right. That's incredible. I think it's just great to know when people are supporting this place, it's not just necessarily animal rehab. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know about that's going to set up a great framework for the future health of our populations as well.
For us, it's extremely, extremely, extremely important that while obviously babies sell and they're great and we love them, and putting them out into the wild is one of the most incredible experiences ever, those animals probably don't have that much of a dent into the health of the population as we might think. And so using those animals as our sentinels, using them to be able to tell us clues about the health of our ecosystem and to be able to work in that respective behind the scenes is also extremely important for us, so that we're tackling both sides of the problem, be it just the individuals that we want out there back into the wild, but also the groups of what we want to help and that we want to detect what's going on and how it can affect us as well. Lately, we've been hearing this concept called One Health, and that's like a whole thing among veterinarians and physicians and all that stuff, and that what it means is that our health, the health of humans, the health of animals, and the health of our ecosystem are all tied together. And so our approach here has always been that. We take care of the animal, the individual, but we also take care of their ecosystem. We take care of their population, and that helps us take care of ourselves, the people that live and work in this country. Yeah,
that's absolutely incredible. I thank you so much for everything. Is there anything anything else that you would like to add, or like people to know about what your position looks like here as a veterinarian?
Well, it is one of the weirdest, wildest, strangest positions in the world. We get to do all sorts of crazy things because we're involved over here. Obviously, we're involved with literally every step, be it rehabilitation and working and a little bit of keeping, even just, cleaning and making sure that the animals are well and giving them enrichment, but also tailoring their rehab programs, but also if they die, doing their necropsies and doing cataloging and anatomy and physiology and looking in the microscope and doing this and doing that. So it is absolutely insane the amount of things that you have to have on the back of your head as a wildlife veterinarian. But it's crazy, and you do it, and it's really fun. Yeah, I can totally understand why you're in this position, and thank you so much for what you do, because it doesn't go unnoticed. Everyone really appreciates it, and it's incredible. Of course. Thank you so much. Amazing.
Crushed it. Sweet. Great job, guys.